first item is regarding the Affordable Housing Incentive Program revision. Mr. Manager, yeah.
Yes, in December of last year, Council passed some changes to the building bylaw. A number of those changes related to no building permits required for smaller garages and decks, increasing some of the fees. And it turns out that when the amendments were passed, they also excluded or removed a waiver that was in the bylaw that provided that if a developer had 25% of their units affordable, they would not have to pay a building permit. At first it was thought it was in error, and then thought maybe intentional, and now we are back to it was erroneously left out. So we looked at how to best address it, and the staff determination was that it could be best addressed by including a provision under your affordable housing program to return the building permit fee money to a developer basically within 4 to 7 days of presenting their receipt. The second thing that we thought council might want to consider is the original waiver was put in 2018, and it was the only thing at that time council was really doing to spur affordable housing development. With the current program, we're not sure whether somebody who builds 16 units, 4 of which are affordable, should get a waiver of their whole building permit. So we are recommending that that be proportional also. So if 50% of your units are affordable, you get 50% of your building permit fee back. This was consistent, as you know. The treasurer has maintained that it is, against accounting practices to give waivers, and we have been encouraging groups, instead of asking for waivers, to ask for funding to pay fees, for instance, the Civic Center, etc. So this is the recommendation. It's here. The only difference is we have a management report. There is a memo that's been drafted by Mr. Forbes, who acts as a housing authority for the city, and a memo from the treasurer explaining her concerns with some of the options available. So that's where we are. Not sure if council needs further information or anything else on this file.
Thanks, Mr. Manager. I would ask a question if I could. I guess we'll open the floor for discussion on the matter, and to Madam Treasurer. I appreciate the work that's been done, and I'm glad that we've got before us tonight options to get something put back in place one way or another. I will admit, I did not realize that we were removing it as part of that package of revisions in December. I certainly would have had no interest in stopping having some form of fee, whether it's a waiver or reimbursement for affordable units. We're still in a crisis, and from my perspective, we should be doing everything we can to get affordable units built, and we've had some success, and I think we got to keep our foot on the pedal in that regard, and not sort of take it off. So I'm glad that we're discussing options of how to do it, not whether we should continue to do it or not. I support also staff's adjustment that it should only be waived or reimbursed for affordable units. So I think that's the right way to go. Ideally, with that, we could induce people to consider 1 or 2 extra affordable units in whatever they're building. I guess to Madam Treasurer, I appreciate and thank you for bringing forward the accounting concerns or the financial reporting concerns with the old model. I am cognizant that if we move to the proposed system in the management report, in a way we are now requiring them to submit the funds, which before they didn't have to do. And I mean, either way, I think we're going to get to the right place. But I'm just wondering if the solution that's outlined by Mr. Forbes in his memo of potentially having the GMRSC invoice the city, would that system address the financial reporting concerns that you've outlined in your memo?
Through the chair, it really wouldn't. I'm not sure what Mr. Forbes is even how that would even work, because an invoice is basically happens when goods or services are provided in exchange for payment in the future. So I'm not sure how, if he was intending to bill the city. That's what an invoice is, and I thought maybe he meant a receipt, but either way, there really isn't any paperwork that Mr. Forbes or anyone else at the Planning Commission can produce that would create a financial transaction out of thin air. So the definition of a financial transaction involves a buyer and a seller. There's an exchange of a good or a service with a payment, and all financial transactions involve a change in the status of finances for both parties. So in effect, a financial transaction involves money going either into or out of our bank account. And in this case, the way it's being handled right now as a waiver, there's no revenue coming into the city, and there's also no payment going back out to the developer. So neither transaction is being recorded in our books. And that's the issue.
No, I understand that the way that it was done, that's laid out clearly in your memo. I guess my question was, would his proposed solution address your concern? But I guess you're saying it still wouldn't.
Right. No, it would not.
Okay. Thanks. Councillor Harris?
Yeah, just to Director Gorman. So I guess, Director, really what you want is the builder to go in, pay their building fee that's submitted to the city. After the building is completed, we check our balances and stuff, and then we have to know they're going to be affordable though too. I think as a council, that we have to make sure that the developer is, at the end of the project, it is done the right way that we want it done. It's obviously it's taxpayers' money. At that time, we would get back to 40% or 70%, or how do you want it to go?
No, that wasn't my understanding, that they would have to wait till the building's completed. I'm not sure if Director McTavish wants to weigh in on.
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Harris, the idea is that once the developer has paid their fee, they would come to the city with their receipt and their documentation that shows that they have an agreement with either social development or CMHC. And once that has been documented, we will issue reimbursement. So again, the idea is we're hoping that depending on when they paid for their services and when they walk in the door, normally the finance department has a check run every Wednesday. So as long as we have it before 12 o'clock on Wednesday, we can normally guarantee payment by that Friday. But if they come in on a Friday, it may be a 7-day wait, just depending on the time. So the idea is that the checks and balances will still be done. We will be checking the paperwork prior to issuing payment, but our hope is that we can get it issued within a 3 to 7 day period.
Okay, no, if that's how it works. I mean, I appreciate the letter from the director. So I mean, we have to do our checks and balances. So I mean, that makes sense if it's in and out, and that's how it's going to go through the books. And the developer knows they're getting their money back. Obviously, if they get their from MB housing and stuff. So yeah, good. Thank you.
Yeah, similarly, just credit to staff for bringing a solution forward. I think one of the things that's we're not quite there is the issue of cash flowing and, the necessarily developer not having it, but 3 to 7 days to get your cash back in hand is pretty good. So I think it's, meeting our needs, and certainly it, coupled with all the other things that we're doing with land and incentives, that the package is still pretty good overall. I think it's a tiny little bit of frustration, but not very much at all. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit disappointing. In some ways, it's a reduction in the level of service, but at the same time, we need to be compliant with legalities. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. If staff thinks that that's achievable, I would, let's monitor that and make sure that we live up to what we're promising. I think that's always one of the challenges too, and I guess that will come up in a moment, is on one of the other items, but is, we certainly want to live up to the expectations we're setting, and so appreciate. I think at one point they did have to wait till the end of the project, so in a way it's an improvement from that portion of it too. So we're moving ahead in some spaces and a bit back in others, but we got to do what we got to do. So thank you for that. If there's no,
Director McTavish, I know the mayor just made a comment that it's, maybe not what we want for services, but the other cities, what we heard from some developers over here about a month ago, like the city of Miramichi is above and beyond for affordable housing, for, how we handle stuff. Can you just elaborate, like, where we've gone as a city over the last few years?
Through the chair again to Councillor Harris. So I guess anecdotally, we've received very positive feedback from the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency regarding our housing programs and the position that this city is taking regarding housing. We've also heard the same from Regional Development Corporation. Our department's affordable housing incentives have been shared with a number of different communities around this province and even into Nova Scotia, and have been adapted to try to help the communities that are having similar problems to ours. So I agree. I think that this community and this council and the staff that's serving it have really taken this effort to increase our housing supply in Miramichi seriously, and I think we are seeing the results from the new developments we see. So it's very encouraging as a staff member and of course hopefully as a community to see us grow this way.
Yeah, and we're really just getting into it too. And I would say, by the way, we've been champions of a lot of that. So what I just meant was in terms of we'll have to move now to them actually paying it when in the past they didn't. But acknowledging that we've been ahead of the curve and the whole province knows it, which is great. I guess given that, I would be looking for a motion to move this up, I believe, Mr. Manager, which is in the form of adjustment to the affordable housing program. Yes. So Councillor Duplessis, seconded by Councillor Ross Robinson, on the motion to move this up. On the question, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.